It's a great day. My name is Jay Brown, the Happy Entrepreneur, and welcome to the Happy Entrepreneur Show, the number one business development and revenue focused late night show in the country where we are on a mission. And our mission really is to empower. Our mission is to inspire, and our mission at the end of the day is to provide you, that's right, you, the entrepreneur, with all of the resources that are necessary to execute that big vision you have for the people you were called to serve. And on this episode, we have the one and only Keisha. She's actually in the building, and she'll be talking about how emotional steadiness can help entrepreneurs grow. We'll find out how that works. What's going on, Keisha? How you doing?
Hey, Shay. Thank you so much for having me. I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for asking, by the way. And I know one of the burning questions has got to be on someone's mind. Maybe it's just Shay Brown, which is, Shay, emotional steadiness. Now, what in the LL Cool J is emotional steadiness? So can you define it? And why is it so important for any entrepreneur or CEO or business leader that's watching this program right now?
Awesome. And that's a great question. And I like how you put LL Cool J in it because he's a smooth and steady guy. And so let me tell you about emotional steadiness. Emotional steadiness is your ability to remain calm and cool when things get hard. I mean, that's the simple definition of it. But basically, it's your ability to remain clear, have clarity, make sound decisions, and communicate clearly when the stakes are high. And entrepreneurs face that every single day.
As you were saying that, I guess what's top of mind is why are entrepreneurs even struggling these days? Forget emotional growth. Forget growth. We'll get to the business. But why are they struggling with this emotional steadiness? I mean, okay, I hate to be funny, but they have AI. So they should, every day they should say, hey, I can be steady today because AI told me to do this in this order. They have Instagram they can go to and get motivated at any moment in time. And they've got folks all over the internet helping them. So I know it's a crazy question, probably loaded, but why are folks today struggling with emotional steadiness?
Listen, AI cannot replace human emotions. Okay. And that's why entrepreneurs, not only just entrepreneurs, but professionals, children, leaders, parents struggle with emotional steadiness. And the reason is because there's pressure everywhere. We're all dealing with an immense amount of pressure. We live in a really fast paced society. We are constantly wanting more and to do more and to see more and experience more. And unfortunately, with having more, a lot of pressure comes with that. And entrepreneurs in particularly are, I've heard you use the term before, dualpreneur.
Yes.
So they're managing a lot, right? They're managing their business, their home life. That's a duality that is heavy. And it's especially heavy for entrepreneurs because if you don't work, you don't eat. You can't just clock in and get paid, right? Entrepreneurs have to work for their pay. And so there's a lot of the stakes are high. There's a lot of pressure there. And there's kind of this hustle mentality of I got to get this done. I got to get this done. And because we have to get so much done and we have to accomplish so much, sometimes we don't take the time to check in with ourselves and to check in with our emotions to see how we're actually feeling while we're getting the things done. And sometimes we're not feeling that good. And then that's whenever we see that we're not emotionally steady, right? It comes out in how we treat people. It comes out in our tone, in how we react, in making decisions, in our clarity. So it's really easy to spot whenever somebody is not feeling emotionally steady. And that's why it's so important, especially for entrepreneurs, because it's all on you. You got to get it done, baby. And so you got to be steady.
Absolutely. And, we're going to get to her background. I know some of you are curious right now a little bit about who she is, what her backstory is, how she became so passionate what she's doing now. But before we do that, I'm curious, someone is watching right now. How do they determine, since you mentioned the dualpreneur and all the things folks have to do, how does one determine if they're steady or if they're just holding it together? Are there any signs that they should be looking at,
Mm,
by the way?
absolutely. And I think that for a lot of us, we have been conditioned to hold it all together. For a lot of us, we've been taught to just push through, work harder, go hard. I was listening to Grant Cardone the other day, and he used the word be destructible. And I'm like, yeah, but to what extent? so, so some signs. Here's some signs to look for. Maybe your back is tense. Maybe your stomach doesn't feel well. Maybe you've been forgetful lately. Maybe you said some words to a colleague or um, someone that you know professionally or a family member that you later regretted. Um, those are just some signs to look for. A lot of times, some people get irritable. They may have a temper. And these are signs that pressure is hijacking your nervous system. So it's time to pay attention to that. I always say that feelings are information. And I know that sounds kind of basic and childish, but they are. And for a lot of adults, we are so busy and we're so ambitious that we ignore those feelings. But those feelings are telling you something, and you have to pay attention to them or you'll pay the price.
Emotional steadiness. First time I've heard it this way. I like what I'm hearing. For the person right now that's in the kitchen cooking dinner right now, we appreciate you, by the way. Appreciate everyone joining, by the way, because without you, we don't have a show. You have a lot of choices and you choose to be with us. Thank you so much. They might be curious, Shay, what's her backstory? Someone else might be listening to us right now, maybe at the office, and we're just playing in the background, or maybe we're up on the monitor. Hey, we are. How cool is that? But take a moment and tell them your backstory. And the question that's on everyone's mind: what was that defining moment in your life where you decided, you know what, I'm born to do this, and I'm going to go do it?
Yeah, well, hello everyone. I'm Keisha Gaddis, and I'm a licensed professional counselor. I've been working in this field for about 15 years now, and I'm extremely passionate about mental health. I'm extremely passionate about helping people make mental health a part of their lifestyle. A lot of people, when they think about mental health, they think about it in the way of crisis. Like, I'm going to go to therapy when I feel bad, or I'm going to go get help when I have a breakdown. But by that time, it's too late because you're already paying the cost of not paying attention to your mental health. So, if we can just infuse some little daily practices to make mental health a part of our lifestyle, I firmly believe that we will all feel so much better, which will allow us to show up better at home and at work in all areas of our life. And so that's why I founded Dual Impact Leadership, because I know that most people have a duality in their life, right? Like whenever you go to work, you don't just clock in and everything that happens at your home turns off. You're just at work those 8 to 9 hours, just doing work. You're not thinking about your family. That is not realistic, right? We're all people before we have our titles. We're people before we have our positions. And so we have to honor that. And we have to honor that we are people who have responsibilities at home. We lead at home, and then we get to work and we lead at work. But we need to honor that there are emotions and that there is stress that kind of transfers back and forth. I noticed this whenever I was working as a school counselor for the past 15 years. Been working in schools and counseling centers in the community, and I've worked with tons of families. And one thing that I've noticed is that whenever I'm in my office and I'm helping a kid that's in crisis and I call home, most often that parent is also having the exact same crisis. And the parent, though, is thinking of it a little differently because their stress is coming from their job. Their stress may be coming from financial concerns. And then that stress is seeping into their children. And their children come to school, and their children are stressed about their grades, about their friendships, the different social things happening at school. And the student starts to have those same reactions that their parent is having. But the sad part is that oftentimes neither one of them knows that the other one is struggling. And so the whole family is just in a stress cycle of pushing through, pushing through. Let's just work harder. Let's just get through this, just in survival mode. And my goal with dual impact leadership is to encourage people to pause, honor those feelings that you're having, and do some emotion regulation so that you don't reach those breaking points and it doesn't cost you. And when I say cost, I'm not even really just talking about financial cost, even though that is one of the side effects. I'm talking about the cost of your communication, the cost of making a rash decision, the cost of maybe you've had a stressful day at work and then you get home and your kid asks you to play Barbies and you just say, no, I'm tired. And you regret that because you snapped at them and they were just trying to spend some time with you. So it might cost you being present. It might cost you making a memory. The cost is big in both places. So that's our mission with dual impact leadership. We want people to feel whole and steady and to be present in their lives.
And while you were speaking there, that's spot on. Thanks for that in-depth answer, by the way, because it led me to think about, you mentioned emotional regulation, but I guess the question that was on my mind when you said that was, okay, I like the Shay. Sounds good. Curious how this is going to help me. What's one tool that maybe Keisha would recommend that I can do right before a moment? How can I say? Well, I'm feeling overwhelmed, right? Maybe it's for a sales call for all my sales folks out there, the entrepreneurs. Maybe it's for
Yeah.
someone who has to make a tough decision. They have to have a conversation, and all this emotion goes through them. Is there, I don't know, step one, step two, or step three they can do in that present moment when it's
In
real? I
that
don't know if that's
moment.
emotional regulation or not, but that's kind of what went through my mind because it happens throughout the day. So
It
here's the
is.
question for those that are listening: what's one tool that someone can do, can
What's
use
one
when they're
tool?
about to go into an emotional unsteadiness?
That's right. Yes. And it's important for everyone to have some tools in their tool belt because different things work for different people. One tool is whenever you know, let's say you're about to go on a sales call, it's going to be intense and you know you got to seal this deal. What if you're someone who really enjoys the sunlight? What if the fresh air really invigorates you and it gives you joy? Maybe you plan that you go for a 10-minute walk right before that call so that you can get your head right. You can get your nervous system can calm because those are things that calm you down. And then whenever you go on that call, you'll be a little bit more steady because you've taken that time to honor those feelings. Or what if you're someone who music brings you joy? Music lights you up. So what if maybe you have a really big meeting coming up with someone who might be able to sponsor your company or a really big deal? So, what if you just jam out right before that meeting? And just imagine if you take the time to honor those feelings, jam out, and go into that meeting, you'll feel so much more confident. You'll be able to communicate so much better, and you'll be able to deliver whatever you're selling much more cleaner and crisper because you took that time to honor how you were feeling and you gave your body and your mind what it needed. So, those are just some quick tools. I encourage everyone to figure out what works for you. And those tools are called coping skills. And I know a lot of kids learn that term whenever they're younger. And it's important that we all have some coping skills in our tool belt to use whenever we get in times like that. Now, the issue is, though, sometimes people are using coping skills daily, all day, every day. Now, if you find that you have to use coping skills constantly, then you are at your capacity. You've kind of reached the limit. Coping skills are not supposed to be used all the time. They're supposed to be used whenever you feel dysregulated. So if you feel like you have to go into your coping skills tool belt all the time, several times a day, constantly, then you might be at capacity. And so it's time to pay attention to that and do some nervous system reset. And that's what I like teaching because that's the part that most people don't know much about.
Yeah, I like that you mentioned that you can reset. And I think as you were sharing all those tips, is a perfect segue to a segment we have here called Today is My January 1st. Now, for those folks that tune in every night at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you know what we're about to do. In fact, you can go ahead and say those magical words now. Today is my January 1st. Doesn't that feel good? Doesn't that feel good? And it really is, depending on when you're seeing this, by the way, it really is. And for those other folks who are watching for the first time, you might be wondering, what does today is my January 1st mean? Well, it's our personal mantra at the Happy Entrepreneur Show. It represents really a fresh start. It represents really a do-over. It means our past, no matter how dark and gloomy that past is or how bright and sunny the past is, the past really no longer equals the future. And so my question for Keisha on the other side is pretty cool, because it's really, when was the time that you had a setback and you had to bounce back from it? Now, her life's been perfect so far. She's telling everybody else what to do. And maybe her life has been perfect. You're going to find that out now. But here's the question in all seriousness. Was there a time that you had a setback and that you had to bounce back from it? And how did you do it, if that's happened? And number two, when you hear those words, today is my January 1st, what kind of goes through your mind?
Yeah. Thank you, Shay. And I like that. So yeah, today's January 1st. So happy new year. And I could think of a moment that I would consider my January 1st. It was a couple of years ago, and it actually came from my son. There's this Bible scripture, and it says something like, out of the mouths of babes. And my son said something so profound that it changed my trajectory. And it was a time in my life where I was working full time and had my business. So I was a dualpreneur. And it was a time in my life where I felt like I was killing it. I was functioning. I was showing up. I was getting praise for my work. I was getting the things done. And I thought that things were all good. And there was one evening where I was playing with my son, and he said, "Mama, are you okay?" And I said, "Yeah, son, why?" And he said, "Because your eyes don't look like you're okay." And we had a conversation about that. And that day, I realized that I need to walk it like I talk it, because I was doing a lot and I was accomplishing a lot and working really, really hard, but I was neglecting myself. So the truth was that I was exhausted, and it was showing up in how I was in my presence with my son. I was reading him a story and stumbling over the words in this little children's book. I was so tired. And in that moment, I realized that I need to follow my own advice and honor the feelings that I'm having, and take moments to pause and take moments to reset my nervous system and to give my body and my mind what it needs, so that I can show up my best self in all places, not just at work, because I don't want to neglect my family because I'm working so hard. And in that time, I was confusing coping skills with capacity. At that time, I was thinking, "Oh, I'm doing the thing. I'm doing breath work, I'm getting massages, I'm meditating, I'm doing the thing." But what I didn't realize back then that I know now is that coping skills are like, it's kind of like riding a bike. So coping skills are the training wheels, right? So you need your coping skills to help you build your balance, to help you become more steady, to help you learn how to ride the bike. But once you build that capacity, you don't need the coping skills anymore. And so I was confusing coping skills with capacity. Your capacity is how much stress you can carry without it costing you. So without it interrupting how you show up at work and how you show up at home. And at that time of my life, I confused that, and I was operating above capacity. And so I had to take a moment and assess myself and assess how I was in my own mental state. And that moment also showed me that, as someone who's been trained in the mental health field and who has worked in this area for years and didn't even recognize that I was dysregulated, imagine how people who have not been trained in this field and who have not really expressed their emotions that much. Imagine how they feel without the language to label it. So it was in that moment that I decided that I no longer wanted to just teach people coping skills. I didn't want to just teach people how to survive daily life. I wanted to teach people and equip people with tools to make them steady, because steadiness is stability. Steadiness is predictable. Steadiness is being able to regulate when times are hard. And as the kids say, and as my son now says, steadiness is your ability not to crash out, which
Not
is
to crash
important.
out. I love
Not to
that.
crash out.
That's spot on. What do you enjoy most about what you're doing? Because as you're talking, you seem to have all this energy. You can hear the energy coming through. What do you enjoy most about what you're doing these days?
Honestly, I enjoy seeing people transform into feeling peaceful, feeling whole, and just feeling kind of, a lot of people say I feel like myself again. Back before we had all of these responsibilities and back before we had the checklist, back when we used to ride our bike down the street and have to just be home when the lights got off. Like back then, before you had all of this pressure, that's what steadiness gives you. You're able to feel lighter and to feel more at peace.
One of my favorite questions to ask, and I want to go back to have my little 10-speed bike just riding down the hill, by the way. The brakes did work, by the way. One
Yes.
couple times I had to drag my foot. I mean, y'all don't know nothing about that, but put
Oh,
my
no.
foot down and kind of take my time. Brakes weren't that good. But anyway, it's not about me. This is all about you, obviously. But the question I do have, and I like to ask, and we have a few minutes to do that, is what's one of the best pieces of advice you've ever been given? And I'll frame it for the audience. They know you've had a lot of training, so you've had more mentors along this journey than you probably can remember. You've read more books. Don't probably keep count of books anymore. Videos, 10,000 hours, a joke. As I always like to say, you can do that on a weekend with your thumb. So, but if you had to step back and say, Shay, of all the advice I've been given, here's one of the best pieces of advice that I've got that I want to share with the audience. What would it be and why?
That's such a great question. And I've had amazing mentors throughout my life. But when you just asked that, one quote that really stood out that I reference often is to start before you're ready. Start before you're ready, because that word ready, you really never feel ready, right? So it's like if you've got a project, if you've been delaying a goal or a dream, or let's say you want to start a new business or you want to do some type of new venture, or you've always said you want to go and experience something. Oh, but then the excuses come in. Oh, but I've got to do this. I got to do this. I have this, and this. A mentor once told me, you're never going to feel ready. So just start before you're ready. Just get started and then just learn as you go. And that has helped me as someone who has been ambitious and someone who has been kind of high achieving all of my life. I've had to remind myself that I'm never going to feel like, oh, yep, it's perfect. It's wrapped in a bow. It's ready to go out. I'm never going to feel like that. So just get started. Start before you're ready.
I like that. Start before you're ready. And, it leads to second and last questions. We're coming down the home stretch, but it does beg the question, what's your view of the world? I'll say that to folks who struggle with consistency, because you might have heard before, consistency is the key. Consistency is the key. Consistency is the key. And having said that, what do most people struggle with most? They struggle with consistency. Somebody say, like, Shay, I love what she's saying. Matter of fact, some of it I've heard before, but I don't want to call it discipline. I know people like to use that word, but I like being consistent. Again, people are different places. I know it's kind of a loaded question, but if you had to step back and say, here's a few things you can do to be more consistent and just doing the things that you talked about you need to be doing on a daily basis, what would you say?
That's right. I would say break it down into small, little tasks that you want to accomplish. I'm talking 5 minutes, like small things, not even 5 minutes. For example, before I hopped on this podcast, I drank a whole bottle of water. because I knew that that was going to help me feel a little bit more calm and a little bit more settled. That didn't take that long. So just little bitty things that you can do. And the more you do them, just like you're building up those reps, the more you do them, the more consistent you'll become. But we do just have to remind ourselves to be cognizant of the things that we need. Even if you have to write it on a sticky note, just little reminders to yourself. Those types of things help. But I just say start before you're ready, start small and just work your way up and be kind to yourself because we're all human and you'll get there.
Well said. And she didn't say you had to go get any fancy software. She didn't say you had to go read another
No.
book. She said just start where you are and get going. Of course, I know y'all are going to do that. What do you do for fun when you're not out saving the world, by the way? You're not out making other people be emotionally steady, helping them grow their business, helping them live the life they deserve. What does fun look like for you these days?
Oh man, like I said earlier, I have two young kids and they keep me very busy. So honestly, we have a lot of fun hanging out. And honestly, one of the funnest things that we do is we have little dance battles in our kitchen. And I win every time, Shay.
I think we got to bring your
No, I
children
don't.
in to verify this. The old
I know.
dancers don't count anymore. Just joking, just joking.
No, I don't win every time, but we have a lot of fun. We have a lot of big belly laughs, and that's what I do for fun. Just hanging out with my kids, creating memories, and just trying to be present with them, because my energy is my children's childhood, and so I'm very intentional on the time that I spend with them, and that's what I do for fun.
Sounds good. As we come down the home stretch, a two-part question. Number one, what type of clients is your firm looking to work with these days, if any? And number two, how can folks best connect with you? How can they stay in this conversation over and beyond the time we have now? Is there a website? Where should they go? What should they do?
Absolutely, absolutely. I would love to meet all of you and work with you. Right now, I am booking for 2026, and I'm accepting clients who work in the healthcare field, the education field. I love to go into corporations who care about people before performance. So if your company if you are in the healthcare field, the education field, women led, mission led, if your organization sounds like someone who cares about people and then knows that if you build your people, then the performance will follow, then please reach out. I'd love to come to your corporation and we can do some keynotes, we can do workshops, interactive workshops. I provide leadership training because emotional steadiness is a leadership skill. The more steady you are, the higher you're going to climb, baby. So call me. I would love to work with you all.
I
Oh,
love
and
that.
how they
Steady
can
under
find
pressure.
me.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah. So my website, it's coachkeisha.com, www.coachkeisha.com. They can also find me on social media. I'm on Facebook. It's Coach Keisha. TikTok is Coach Keisha. And Instagram, my Coach Keisha.
I love it. Thank you so much for being on the Happy Entrepreneur Show. We got to stay steady
Thank
under
you for
pressure.
having me.
Thank you
Yeah,
so
this was
much.
fun.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And
Thank
shout
you.
out to your whole family helping you get everything together, by the way. Thank you as well. Thank you to viewers. Thank you for tuning in, because without you, well, we don't have a show. We don't have a show. So I never get tired of reminding you every night at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, no matter really what's going on in your life, whether you're doing really, really well and you're going to that next level of success, you're going to be steady. You're going to be steady, or you've been hit with the punch that you never saw coming. The one thing I do believe is that today is your January 1st. And because of just that one reason alone, I believe your best is still yet to come. Your best is yet to come. Your best is yet to come. That being said, my name is Shay Brown. I'm out. Peace, Coach Keisha. I keep saying Coach guys. Coach
Bye.
Keisha. We'll see you on the other side. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye. Thank